Welcome to Contemporary Retirement. Contemporary Retirement is a public interest program focused on the retirement community. Every program has segments on legal, financial, and health issues affecting the retirement community. Contemporary Retirement is sponsored in part by a major grant from the Family Heritage Trust Company.
Contemporary Retirement is sponsored by Family Heritage Trust Company. The Family Heritage Trust Company is an independent bank chartered trust company established by local professionals to provide fiduciary services including fee-based investment advice, trust services, retirement planning, and tax planning. The Family Heritage Trust Company is committed to client service in our communities. For more information, call the Family Heritage Trust Company at 301-631-5900.
Contemporary Retirement is sponsored in part by a grant from R. Thomas Murphy & Associates, P.C. R. Thomas Murphy & Associates is one of Franklin County's leading law firms, emphasizing estate, trust, elder law, and medical assistance planning.
Welcome to the Is It Legal feature on Contemporary Retirement. Is It Legal focuses on the legal issues affecting the retirement community. With me today is Tom Murphy from the R. Thomas Murphy Law Firm with offices in Waynesboro, Chambersburg, and McConnellsburg. Welcome to the show, Tom.
Morning, Mike.
Tom, we've been talking about Medicaid traps, and there's a number of other traps that we see out there all the time. First of all, we have the traps caused by the people selling trusts at hotels.
Right. You just get these pushes, the free dinners, telling you've got to have this thing. It's the greatest thing ever. And most of the stuff that they're telling you just isn't accurate. And worse yet, as a trap, those trusts can really become a problem especially for married couples when we're trying to fix things to get eligible for Medicaid.
So, and for medical assistance purposes, a house in Maryland, it's exempt if it's owned by the husband, even if he's in the nursing home. It's exempt if it's owned by them jointly, the husband and the wife. And it's exempt if it's owned by the wife. It's an available resource if it's in a trust.
Exactly, and we just can't get approved if you have assets in trust. So in every situation, we've got to undo it. But if the verbiage in the trust doesn't permit it, you got a big problem.
And oftentimes we'll see that the trust says that only the person who created the trust can revoke it. Well, that's the person in the nursing home suffering from dementia. We got a problem.
Right, and you have strokes, you have accidents, you have all kinds of stuff. So that type of language, even if you have a trust, you got to look at it carefully to see if it doesn't need amended so that you eliminate those issues.
Or we'll see that the trust says upon incapacity of one of the trustors, it's irrevocable as to their share,
right.
Which once again, we now have a person who cannot qualify for medical assistance, and the only reason they can't qualify is because of those assets being in a trust.
Exactly, and so a lot of that language is written for reasons so far removed from nursing homes and everything else that the average planner doesn't think about that stuff. And so you really need to digest it and make sure you get rid of any kind of noxious language.
Well, and then we see the trust routinely written where husband says, I'm the trustee, and then in the event of my incapacity, my son Johnny. Well, what does incapacity mean?
Right, and who's going to determine that? And if it was a doctor, how are you going to track down a doctor? It's really, really difficult.
And sometimes it says two doctors. And so, you
Right.
really have created a huge, obstacle to being able to get this thing to work. And most particularly when you have the onset of dementia, many times a person is good part of the day, bad parts of the day. They're not legally incapacitated all day, which is essentially what that standard requires. In the meantime, they're making bad decisions.
Absolutely, it's costing money, and they're doing things that are potentially tripping up for long-term care, and that can get expensive quick.
And unfortunately, we see a whole bunch of these types of operations out there, unfortunately perpetuated by lawyers that are essentially, give me 10 grand and I'm going to be your best friend for life. It involves preparing a bunch of documents which actually will not work for medical assistance. You will then have to undo those documents, but it creates a lot of paperwork, a lot of sense that you're accomplishing something when in fact you're not accomplishing anything at all.
Right, and in most cases, for most families, clean, simple, elegant documents are going to do the job. You don't need a book. If you have a book, great, but let's make sure it's not saying something you don't want it to say, and it's just a matter of sitting and thinking and talking.
Well, we see this 10 grand best friend for life stuff. Basically, you come see most high quality elder law attorneys, it's just going to be hourly consultations. Documents are not terribly difficult, and
Right.
you're just not going to be anywhere close to that kind of a number. The problem is it keeps people who need help from coming to see high-quality elder law attorneys because they think to walk through our door they're going to have to write a big check, which is just simply not true.
Right, and as you identified, most people just need some basic documents. You cover those, it's not very expensive, and you walk out prepared for whatever might come down the road. If you get into a crisis, then you deal with it appropriately and pay.
It is expensive. Let's not kid ourselves.
Yeah.
We're dealing with a government agency who does not want to pay your spouse's nursing home bill.
Right.
They're going to make you jump through a ton of hoops, but as we oftentimes tell people, there's a 1 in 4 chance you may have to do that, which means there's a 3 in 4 chance you won't have to do it, which means you shouldn't be paying somebody as if it's going to happen when in reality it's probable it's not going to happen.
Exactly. So if you get into the problem, well, you deal with it at that point, and you go at it hard. But until then, cheap and easy is normally a good way to do it.
Tom, as always, thanks for taking time to appear on the program.
You're welcome.
More from Contemporary Retirement after these messages.
Few things in life are as important as family. Leave your insurance worries to us, Wright Gardner. Call or visit our website to learn how we can make insurance simple and more affordable.
Every life that meets its end leaves a heart for love to mend. Sister, brother, family, friends are left to carry on. When the loss seems more than you can bear, it's nice to know that we'll be there at Douglas A. Fiery Funeral Home. We care.
Call Ed Lowe to help put your mind at ease.
Welcome to a special guest feature on Contemporary Retirement. Special guest features various issues which are of importance to the retirement community. With me today is Asia Johnson, who is the Public Relations Director, Maryland Relay. Welcome to the show, Asia.
Thank you for having me.
I love this concept because I'm a techno geek, and what we have done, the state of Maryland has said, we're going to try to provide an accommodation for anybody with disabilities to be able to use the classic communications. What do I mean by that?
So through Maryland Relay, we're actually providing accommodations for Maryland residents that have difficulty using a standard telephone. And we do that through the state's relay services and our equipment distribution program.
All right, so obviously the easy one is a person who is deaf. The entire system is not designed to accommodate a person who is deaf.
Absolutely. So individuals who are deaf are using most often a video relay service or a TTY service. And we do provide access to video relay on the tablets that we provide through the equipment program.
And of course we have Meredith sitting next to me making all kinds of sign. What is sign?
She is. So she is expressing what I am saying in American Sign Language so that the message is accessible to the deaf community.
All right, and of course the deaf community can not only be people that were born deaf, but it can also be, the fact is we have a lot of hearing loss in our society, no matter whether you had it to begin with or not.
Absolutely. We're seeing a lot of seniors as they get older having a hearing loss, sometimes minor, sometimes significant, and the same for our veterans returning from combat with a hearing loss.
And so this system can work a lot of different ways. So if a person has some hearing capability but needs some assistance with that, I know we have a piece of equipment here, this white one. What does it do?
We do. So that is an amplified phone that makes it louder than a standard telephone would be so that the person is able to hear and adjust for tone for the sake of clarity.
Okay, and then sometimes they really don't have any hearing capability at all, so we have this screen here. Now, how would that be working?
So the caption telephone is for someone with a more significant hearing loss who requires the support of captions. So if you think about it, it's most often the people who use captions on their television that can benefit from captions on the on their telephone also. And the way that works is there is a relay operator revoicing what's been said into a speech recognition software, and that's what generates those captions on the screen.
So that might actually go through your center there that would help develop a means of seeing that on the screen and then understanding what's being said.
Absolutely.
How does the person who's deaf then respond?
So an individual using this device would be someone who is hard of hearing, and they are able to just voice back to that person because they're voicing for themselves. They're just getting the support of what you're saying through the text.
All right, and then we have another one here with a bunch of icons. What's that?
It is. So that's our tablet. It's probably the newest addition to our program. And we're serving individuals with limited mobility with tablets and also cognitive difficulty. That actually opened now as an app that individuals with speech or cognitive difficulty can use to express themselves.
And so those icons might mean sort of common phrases that can kind of speed up the process. They don't have to type out the entire word then, or maybe they're not capable of typing out that word.
Exactly.
All right, now this equipment, it's very substantial. What's the cost associated with it?
So the state of Maryland offers the equipment at no cost to Maryland residents age 3 or older that have difficulty using a standard telephone. And if those persons are receiving Social Security, retirement benefits, veterans benefits, or are low income, they would qualify to receive the equipment at no cost.
How about the use of the service itself?
So relay services are absolutely free.
All right, and then we know that our viewing area, most of the states also have a similar program as well.
Yes, so don't worry if you're not in Maryland, there are other states that are providing equipment to their residents also.
So you have a family member, whether they were born deaf or became deaf as a result of perhaps environmental or other disease issues, there's just no reason for them to be isolated from the communication system.
That's what's important to us. We're focusing on having individuals with vision loss, memory loss, limited mobility, or cognitive difficulty being able to keep in touch with friends and family or call to make their doctor's appointments so that they are not isolated.
And so how do they get a hold of you?
They can reach us at our administrative office at 1-800-552-7724, or they can log on to our website, which is www.mdrelay.org.
Asia, I want to thank you for taking time to appear on the program.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. More from Contemporary Retirement after these messages.
Tranquility at Fredericktown Assisted Living and Memory Care provides a warm, home-like atmosphere that promotes daily life enrichment. At Tranquility, our medical director is a geriatric physician. Our professionals support and understand the various stages associated with Alzheimer's and dementia. We have on-site physical, occupational, and speech therapists, as well as around-the-clock licensed nurses. For more information, give Tranquility at Fredericktown a call today, because everyone deserves great care. Let us do the caregiving so you and your loved one can embrace life again.
Come on, Dad, let's go! We're gonna be late! Hurry!
Just one more bid on HurleyAuctions.com. If you haven't visited HurleyAuctions.com, you don't know what you're missing. Whether you're buying or selling, antique cars, tractors, boats, or real estate, you can do it all at HurleyAuctions.com.
Get to know Dr. Carrie Hesley at Diagnostic Imaging Services.
What I find most rewarding is caring for women through our Women's Imaging Center. We have a caring staff that will ease patients through an ultrasound, bone densitometry, breast biopsy, or mammogram. Our health team is sensitive to emotions involved in women's imaging and understands that every woman is at risk for breast cancer. Providing the community with a center that is so dedicated to breast health and the imaging needs of women is something special.
DIS Women's Imaging Center, providing women with progressive care.
Welcome to Contemporary Health Scene. Contemporary Health Scene focuses on the health issues affecting the retirement community. With me today is Dr. Wayne McWilliams, urologist, Urological Center, Robinwood Medical Center. Welcome to the show, Dr. McWilliams.
Thank you, Mike, for having me.
You know, one of the things that we talk about, oftentimes people think of urologists and prostate cancer, which is very important on the male side, but there are plenty of other things that go on that affect both males and females. So let's just kind of work down the biological chain. So first of all, you're dealing with the kidneys. What are some of the issues that you routinely deal with kidneys?
Well, with kidneys, we deal a lot with kidney stones. That's one issue. Kidney infections, and we deal with, you know, tumors of the kidneys as well.
So, you know, obviously kidney stone, I guess figuring out the diagnostic tool to figure that one out is not too tough.
Yeah, I mean, usually the patient presents with severe pain, and the typical thing that we get is a CAT scan, which is pretty quick and efficient, and that'll tell us where the stone is and what the size of it is, and whether the patient will be able to pass it on their own or whether we have to intervene and do something about it.
And fortunately, there's been some evolution of the modalities since, you know, 40 years ago, one in particular fairly effective.
Yeah, I mean, years ago, if the stone was pretty good size, you'd have to, you know, make an incision and go in and take it out of the kidney or the ureter, which is the tube going down to the bladder. Now, a common thing is shockwave lithotripsy, which is a machine that you put the patient on. It's totally external, but it focuses shock waves on the stone to break it up into little sand particles that the patient will pass.
Little less pain typically in passing them.
Yeah, that's much easier.
All right, and not as invasive.
That's true, it's less invasive. There's other procedures with scopes that we go up through the channel and use lasers and things like that. They're a little bit more invasive, but that's another modality that we use.
All right, so in terms of looking at symptoms and in terms of kidney cancer, what might be a symptom of that?
The most common thing would be blood in the urine. Typically, you know, the patient has what they call painless hematuria, where they just suddenly notice that there's
You weren't punched in the kidney or anything else, and all of a sudden you're bleeding.
Yeah, and you're just bleeding, and so that leads to, you know, imaging studies and other tests, and kind of helps make the diagnosis for kidney cancer.
Well, one of the great issues here is almost never any pain involved with it, so as soon as you see it, you got to address it.
Yeah, you do have to address it, and it's very similar with bladder cancer too. Most of the time it's painless, but somebody sees blood in their urine, and so we do say that should be checked out. You don't want to let that go, because some of these men and women don't really have any pain, and they think, oh, it'll go away, and sometimes you wait too long.
And the success rate on bladder cancer is very high, gotten early.
Yes, very, very. You know, both kidney, bladder, a lot of the tumors that we deal with, if you catch it early, it's much more highly treatable and curable.
And so it really and the thing about blood in the urine is, you know, when you see it, it doesn't take much before it's quite evident that you have blood in your urine.
Yeah, that's true. You can have the visible blood. Also, sometimes when you get a checkup, you may have microscopic blood, which it's not really visible, but under the microscope it is, and that's important to check out as well.
Well, of course, in dealing with the retirement community, which I deal with all the time,
Sure.
it's just like every other patient, I'm hearing about urinary tract infections, and really can have some fairly significant behavioral issues during the course of treatment.
That's true. Urinary tract infections are very common. It's more common in women than men, but we see it in both sexes. If you have one that, you know, gets up into the kidneys and gets into your bloodstream, you can get very deathly ill from them, and it can require hospitalization and IV antibiotics, and it can you know, affect your mentation too. And sometimes, you know, these people be very confused, and a lot of it's related to a urinary tract infection.
And we oftentimes, the first thing from my perspective as a non-professional, I have a person that falls off the table on cognition. The first thing I'm wondering is if there's a urinary tract infection.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to check for.
All right, and so what kinds of treatments are generally available for that?
Yeah, I mean, usually antibiotics are still the mainstay for urinary tract infections. If somebody has recurring infections, we normally do some testing to see, Are they emptying their bladder effectively? Sometimes if your bladder doesn't empty properly, bacteria can get in there more easily. People with diabetes have a higher incidence of urinary tract infections, but pretty much antibiotics. In some people, we do put them on chronic low-dose antibiotic regimens just to kind of keep things under control.
So once again, if somebody had a concern about that, how could they get a hold of you?
Yeah, we're at the Robinwood Medical Center. It's called the Urological Center, Suite 228. It's the green entrance. We have a full staff there, and we'd be happy to see anybody with problems or urological issues.
Dr. McWilliams, thank you for taking time to appear on our program.
Thank you very much, Mike.
More from Contemporary Retirement after these messages.
Albright, Crumbacher, Mal & Eitel are a full-service firm that provides elder care services including managing incoming bills, bill payment, depositing checks, balancing bank statements, and preparing, planning, and filing personal tax returns. Put your mind at ease and call us today.
Welcome to the Making Sense feature on Contemporary Retirement. Making Sense focuses on various financial issues affecting the retirement community. With me today is Christian Wright, President of Wright, Gardner Insurance. Welcome to the show, Christian.
Thank you, Michael.
Now, your agency is an independent agency. What does that mean?
Right. That means that we do not represent one single insurance provider. We actually are a separate entity, and we represent multiple carriers. It allows us to have the flexibility if a client needs a certain insurance coverage that one carrier doesn't offer, or what have you.
And so what we see is typically middle of the road. We see the stuff advertised on television and so forth, and whether it's the benefits double check or whether it's somebody having their picture snapped in front of the Statue of Liberty or whatever, but it's all very, very standard coverage. And it's a cost-effective way of delivering sort of a base level of coverage. But the problem with the common carriers is it's basically almost impossible to customize their coverages.
Right, and that's, I think, one of the great benefits of being an independent agent is we have the ability to take care of a client's need no matter what that need is. And you're right, a lot of the national direct insurance companies that typically work with one agent, or an agent represents just one of those carriers at a time, they have the cookie cutter approach type of insurance policy, and that may be great for certain situations, but it absolutely isn't perfect for every situation.
And the key is the policies are standard policies. It's take it or leave it. This is what our company offers. There's no question that that's a cost-effective way of doing business, but it's not necessarily going to fulfill every need that the customer might have.
Exactly, and that's again, the issue there is you're getting a standard policy. The premiums are built around those standard coverages, but you have a particular situation, a high-value home, traveling overseas, unique situations that policy is not going to protect you for.
Well, let's talk about the custom homes, for instance. They use a computer, standardize, construction costs and so forth, and that may very well work for, currently built homes, but we know, for instance, your grandfather's house on Prospect Street would have cost, 3 times as much as what that computer spit out, and it would have been almost impossible to get that coverage through a standard carrier.
Exactly, and that is, ornate wood, wood trim, woodworking. It could be lead glass and windows. It could be murals,
chandeliers.
And we find a lot of that in the viewing area. I mean, it's older homes or even newer homes with some very high-end finishes, designer kitchens, those types of things.
And it just doesn't come out of the computer. Now, so a custom carrier will come in and say, all right, let's inspect it, let's have an agreed upon value, at which point the homeowner and the insurance company agree on what the coverage is going to be.
Right, and I think that's a unique feature for your viewers to understand, because once they do that, first of all, they're not trying to be intrusive. They actually come in, do an analysis, they take pictures, they document everything. Then they give you a nice little portfolio of that, and they say, this is, if you have a fire or major loss, this is the amount that it's going to cost to replace, okay? Here's the catch. If, let's say, I'm using round numbers, $1 million. Let's say it's $1 million. but it actually costs $2 million to replace. That insurance company has agreed on the $1 million. They say that's what it's worth, but it costs $2 million. They're going to pay you $2 million. They're going to pay you above that policy limit. And when you're talking about unique structures, that's very important because it's really hard to put a dollar amount on a current replacement cost.
So many historic construction, I look at anything pre-1950s, guaranteed to be historic construction. It's going to be significantly more expensive than the construction that's done in more modern construction.
Absolutely, and if you don't have the right coverage, you're not going to have the funds to rebuild, and it can be a whole host of problems.
And then, of course, we look at other things as well. You know, for a custom carrier, you know, I made a decision to go to Europe, and I was going to drive my car. There was absolutely no way that a common carrier was going to cover me in Europe.
Right, right. The typical boundaries on a standard auto policy are the United States, its possessions territories, in Canada. That's it. So you go to the UK.
How about Mexico?
Mexico, no. No.
Bahamas?
No.
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 You know,
No.
People don't realize that they are routinely doing things out of the U.S. and not realize they have no coverage for it.
Exactly. So if you're setting your, if you're going to do that, that's where you need to speak with your agent. Hopefully, they have you in a custom carrier that can take care of that, because the last thing you want is to be overseas in a rented vehicle, injure someone, and be stuck there trying to defend yourself.
And so I know you access a particular company that provides that.
Yes, Chubb is probably the forefront leader in custom, what we're talking about. But there are others, but Chubb I think is the best. Chubb has I mean, they're known for paying. They'll pay claims if it doesn't say an exclusion in the policy. Okay, they're going to pay it.
So how could somebody get a hold of you if they had a question?
Absolutely, give us a call at 301-733-1234. Ask for me. I'll be more than happy to talk to you about Chubb and our offers.
Christian, as always, thanks for taking time to appear on the program.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you from Contemporary Retirement.
Remember a more carefree time? Leave your insurance worries to us, Wright Gardner. Call or visit our website to learn how we can make insurance simple and more affordable.
These days, it seems like everything's online, and filling out claim forms and receiving and paying bills online isn't always easiest. That's why we at Quality First Insurance encourage you to just give us a call. Let us help.
Hi there, I'm Paul Sweeney with Quality First Insurance, and it's still just this simple. Our offices are open every weekday where you'll be able to call and speak to real, live people.
No detail was missed. I'm so glad that I turned to Quality First Insurance.
I've recommended Quality First Insurance to my friends who've been just as satisfied.
If you're not happy with what you're paying for Medigap, or more importantly, not happy with your service, give us a try. We're locally owned, and we take the time to provide you with the best. We are Quality First Insurance, and our mission is to provide quality products to quality people. Pick up the phone and give us a call today at 800-745-1411.